I would probably take an average 1-2 grinder playing his A game over an average 25-50 grinder playing his C game any day.
You're listening to the Mindset Advantage podcast. Each week, you'll get to peek inside the greatest minds in the game and discover what makes them successful.
Mental toughness separates those that can't handle the stress.
If you're going to treat it like an amateur, you're probably going to have amateur results.
Now here's your host, Elliot Rowe.
Hey, Elliot Rowe here. I'm very excited to announce that for the next few episodes, Stephen Baker will be guest hosting the show. Stephen has experience both as a professional poker player, strategic coach, and now a member of my mindset performance coaching world. I can confidently say that Stephen's one of the world's leading experts in poker mindset and performance, and I'm really excited to hear the conversations he has with some fantastic guests. And with that, here's Stephen.
Hello and welcome to the Mindset Advantage podcast. My name's Stephen Baker, high performance and mindset coach. My guest on today's podcast is Monika Hrabec, known as Hey Monia to her thousands of social media followers. Monia was going to become a scientist after gaining a master's degree in pharmacy, but she decided to take a gap year and now plays the highest stakes online and in live settings such as the Triton series. Monika's going to tell us about that journey and the challenges of poker as a social media figure. So without further ado, let's get to it. Well, Monika, really great to have you here. Thank you for joining us. Now, a lot of people who are watching and listening to this will be familiar with you, but I'd like you to just maybe give a little bit of background on yourself. And even for those who are familiar with you, they may not know your full origin story. And I always like to start with the origin story. So let's talk about yours, because it's interesting. It wasn't always the case that you were necessarily going to be a professional poker player. At one point, it looked like you were going down the path of being a scientist. Particularly in pharmacology, I think. So can you talk about that and how poker came into your life, how you started on this poker journey?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I am absolutely honored to be here. So yeah, let's get into it. My story. I actually like to come back to my origins. It reminds me of the path that I actually came through, and the very, very start, the very, very bottom that I started from. And just like you said, it wasn't always the case that I was supposed to be a poker player, because originally my goal was to become a scientist, but the background goal of that was always the same. I always wanted to travel. And back in the days when I was still a student, I was always a great student. So back in the days, I actually won some contest that opened the door to me. I was sent abroad. And since then, I always had that dream to travel. And I imagine that being a scientist, being a good scientist, will open the door to me to the world. But on the way through my career, I discovered poker, and I discovered that, it might be more fun. And what is more important, poker has this very, very special thing about it, which is the lack of nepotism, the lack of connections, which is a problem in so many industries, including the scientific industry. At the end of the day, it's very important who you know, who daughter or son you are. And it always was so painful to me listening to the stories of the people that worked hard throughout their life, and then they wouldn't get a promotion, they wouldn't get the position that they deserve only because someone else would get it. And I guess that's just life. But what's beautiful about poker is that this is not a thing in our poker world, in our poker industry. Everybody gets the bad beat. It doesn't matter who you know, who you are, how do you look. Everybody will get their aces cracked brutally. So as much as so many people say that poker is a game of luck, it is unfair. So I think long-term it is very, very fair. And this is what actually made me fall in love with the game, that it actually rewards long-term everyone, I think.
So how old were you when poker first became a serious interest to you?
I came across poker I mean, I've heard about it the first time when I was in high school, but well, it was like early days of poker. I thought that you have to play live. I didn't know that you can even play online. So I knew about the game for a long time. And interestingly, I just like right away assumed that it's a game of skill, not luck. I don't know. But yeah, I came across the game just before my university. But well, still, like I was a good student. I had good grades, and this was easy for me studying, and this is what I knew. So I was dedicated to well get my degree. So for my university, poker was only my hobby. I would travel abroad for some little tournament to Czech Republic. If you go through my handle mob, you can see some 50 euro tournaments in Czech Republic because in Poland we couldn't play poker. So for long years it was my hobby on the side of pharmaceutical studies. But once I graduated, I decided to take a gap year because I've been studying for so many years and well, we only live once. And I assumed that, yeah, well, 1 year is nothing. I can just try. Why not? So I moved out to Malta and I've decided to go full time for a year and see how it goes. And well, it went well.
Yeah. I mean, one challenge that can come up in that situation, so you've had this really good academic career, you've gone through university, you've built towards this really promising career in pharmacology. One challenge that can come up in that situation is family pressure and peer pressure, because very often I've come across this more than once. I even came across it myself, having built a career in the law. And it's like, why are you giving up this respectable, promising, safe career to play poker? Was that an issue you had to face?
To be honest, yes and no, because I have a very supportive family and we all trust each other. So as long as I was a student, obviously my parents were very concerned. Where am I going? What am I doing? Who is there? Obviously everybody has this vision of dark basements, cigars, whiskeys. I don't know. Well, I had, well, great conversations with my parents. I showed them the pictures from live tournaments. I showed them the live streams. I showed them that those tournaments are happening at the hotels and the conferences rooms, just like, I don't know, any other events that could possibly be there. So those are not like dark casinos. Of course, there are probably games like that, but this is not what I'm doing. So I was trying to have those open conversations with my parents. And as long as I was studying, as long as I was getting my degree, they were fine with it. So once I graduated, they just let me do whatever I want because they knew that I always had this plan B, the backup plan, which is pharmacy. So it felt like a fair deal. Of course, I was for those long years, I was obviously longing to play more, to get better or study more poker. But well, my focus was shifted toward studies. But yeah, I guess it's all about having this conversation and being open with others, and yeah, just of course, like respecting the worries as well and not like reacting emotionally, because it can be annoying when someone is telling you that you're doing this, you're doing that wrong, and so on. But trying to wear someone else's shoes helps. Obviously today when I'm a little bit older, I'm actually I feel like I can see the perspective of my parents even better than I was trying to see like back in the days. And today I'm actually like seeing that it must have been like so challenging for them to let me go out there. But I think they trust me, and they and they know that we can always talk. So yeah, my family is very supportive, especially and today it's obviously like such a even better situation because they're really rooting for me watching the stream. So it's I'm the lucky one to have the supportive family.
That's
Yes.
great. That's great. So having made that decision that poker was the way you were going, let's just talk about your progression in poker. And could you identify some key moments when you made a significant leap forward in your poker journey, having made that initial decision to get you to where you are now?
One of the biggest moments was pandemic for me, because like I said before, I always wanted to travel. I always wanted to discover the world. And every time I had an opportunity, I would just go, I would travel. I wanted to be in places. And when the pandemic hit, the magic has happened to me because I discovered that being at home and having the repetitive, boring routines, this is where magic happens actually. Out of all of those like basic repetitive work that, well, feels like nothing when you do it once, but when you do it every day for months, suddenly you can just see that it did something. It gave me the progress. So that was the biggest shift in my career. And before that, I would say my life was very chaotic. Of course, I would study, I would talk hands, I would be places. I was networking. Networking is also very important in our industry. So I cannot say that was bad. But if you want to be a good poker player, well, you need to sit down and do the boring thing. So that was one of the biggest moments for me, and also working with other poker players. Like I had this mindset league of wanting to be strong, independent woman, and I was so proud of it. And I had so much ego. I didn't want to work with anybody. I didn't want to ask anyone for help. So for long years, I was like a lone wolf. Even though I was a very social person, I had lots of friends, I would never ask anybody for help. So today I think it was not so smart. And like I said, it was a mental leak that I had to work on. And then I discovered that actually working with others and, expose your leaks, expose your weaknesses to others and just working them, like this is something that also brings progress. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, I mean, I guess for a lot of the early part of my poker career, I was also a lone wolf. And it is quite hard, actually. You can justify it to yourself as, hey, I think I'm stronger and I've got the answers. But actually, that process of opening up and saying, actually, I'm going to listen to what other people have to say about my game. It's tough, right? But you improve as a result of it.
I actually heard something really smart because there was this theory that you need to spend 10,000 hours over something to become, I don't know, pro or master. But actually, the truth is that you need to get, I don't remember the number, let's say, I don't know, 1,000 feedbacks to become a pro or a master. Exactly. It's not about hours because I can spend 10,000 hours working on something in my bubble thinking that I'm doing the best, but getting the feedback is something that
absolutely. It's more like an equation of, yes, there's some volume, but it's the quality of the input you're putting in is the absolute crucial variable. And that really makes a difference. And yes, the volume has to be at a certain level, but you're absolutely right. The volume can be almost meaningless if you're not feeding good things back into the loop.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely. Well, okay, those are the good moments or the big steps forward. What about the challenges? What have been the hardest parts of the journey? Because it's now been, a long time you've been working through this career. Just tell me what's been the most challenging moments.
The most challenging moments for me were always the trips to Las Vegas. I don't know. I have a love-hate relationship with that place. And I remember my first bad summer in Vegas. I felt so burned out. I felt like I lost so much money. And this particular location is very hard for me. And to this day, I found it challenging, maybe because I have this little trauma and I've decided that this is the place. But Las Vegas is very specific in summer, and I found it challenging, not because of the level of players, not because of the games themselves, but the whole environment, that I cannot get my routines. I just don't feel home there. And if I could stay there just for a week or two, that would be fine. But the summer is so long, and that also adds the challenge to the overall festival, the overall series. So for me, that was the first biggest test that I went through. And well, of course, I'm trying to improve each trip, each year, but still, it's just not my environment, and it's very tough. And it's very tough, of course. Plus the live tournament variance, you can be losing, and that doesn't help with the confidence that you actually need to be a successful poker player. So there are many aspects of the summer series that make it so complex, especially for me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, yeah, maybe that's the next thing to work on. And that's sort of, I mean, you get this in professional sport as well, where teams go to a particular stadium and it almost
Yes.
defies logic. It's like, why do we always struggle here? You know,
Yes.
we can beat this team, and yet somehow this place has an association. And yeah, there's definitely work that can be done to actually change that framing of the situation. But you're right. I mean, the reality is that you're playing in the biggest fields of the year. That carries a lot of variance, no matter what the age is, and it's just not at all unusual for good players to go into that environment and go, what's happening here? I don't understand that. And it is just normal variance for what is actually ultimately quite low volume, right? You play one tournament at a time live, and that carries an implication. And each one tends to be a relatively large buy-in compared to your online play, of course. And before you know it, wait a minute, how's this happened? Well, look at my bankroll.
Plus the aspect of actually handing the cash when you're registering to the tournament, because in some festivals you don't even see the money you're spending on the buy-in because you just click through the app. You're just being charged. You don't see the money. You don't touch them. And in Vegas, this year they introduced the buy-ins for the app, so that's nice. But the first summer I went there, I had to literally hand the money over, which also like maybe adds something to imagination. But those are those little things. Which are not there in the other venues. But for example, I really like playing in Miami. So it's like still kind of the same part of the world, but just such a different vibe of the place. I really like nature. I really like to go out like for a walk, even for a walk. You cannot do this in Las Vegas. And multiply that by weeks that you need to spend there. I think it really adds up. That's why this is for me the most challenging place.
For sure. You're absolutely right. The whole environment feels like this little bubble. And the bits of the bubble I think are great. You walk into that room at Paris or Horseshoe, and there's that riffling of chips. It sounds like almost like a jungle noise. It's like nothing on earth. I love it in a way. But it is like this, it is this bubble. And for sure, well, there we go. There's something that really brings us as a segue into the next topic, which is, we on the Mindset Advantage podcast, we're not so much interested in discussing the technical aspects of the game. That's important, but what do you do to improve performance in terms of mindset and all of the other off-table aspects? Because in a sense, what you just described there, it's nothing to do with your technical abilities. It's coping with something which floats above that and around that.
Yes, exactly. Well, so the good side of those bad trips to Las Vegas, I ended up having coachings with you, Stephen, for example, because I remember I reached you out the first time after WSOP in Vegas because I was burned out. I was just burned out. So even if you're going for some downswings, there can be something good out of it. I remember each time I would hit the downswing, I would study more and I would eventually become a poker player. So here, the same story. I was burned out. I was feeling absolutely bad after the summer, and I ended up having coachings with you. And I felt like I've grown since our first coaching because we've been already working for 1.5 years.
Yeah, I'd have to check.
It's been a while. So, and before that, I was also working with other mindset coaches. In general, coming back to the question, so obviously, number one, mindset coachings. I've been working with multiple coaches. I feel like we can learn from every person something new. So I'm always open to work with the new coaches, to hear some other perceptions of we're working on the mindset. So I think there's always something to get from each person. What I like to do, obviously, I do the meditation. I'm really like obsessed with being healthy, fit, and keep my diet and workouts like on high level. And well, it sounds like it's not the mindset aspect, but it is. It is like having this base, this repetitive routine back there. Like it's something that like you can always like connect, jump back, and when everything feels chaotic, you always have this base that's something that you know and feel safe. So and I just know that this is something correct. So there's no like question marks about that. And what's beautiful about that is also that the more I work, the more results I see, which is not a thing in poker. In the short term, obviously, like sometimes you might spend hours studying, then you play your next session, and well, actually, you don't really see that you use like any results that should like equal your the amount of hours that you input to studying. But that's a separate topic. So coming back to the things that I'm working off the tables, well, meditation, good diet, mindset coachings. Back in the days, I would watch a lot of interviews with the athletes. They have so much to say about being in the present moment. Sometimes they don't even use this kind of wording, but the way they describe like being in the flow state, being present, this is something very inspirational. So I think there's lots of things to learn from the athletes when it comes to the mindset. And what I like to do personally is journaling. I'm not very regular, but when I struggle with something, I just like take a pen and paper and just write down everything. And it feels like actually talking to someone. And I'm a very visual person. So if I write down something in, I don't know, in some sort of chart or just on a paper, it already has a therapeutical sense. So taking notes, writing down. And one special thing that I do once a year is writing a letter to myself that I open next year. So of course, around the New Year's, I just write what I'm worried about, what are my current problems, what is important to me, and good things, bad things. And reading this after a year, it's also have a very therapeutical aspect, because obviously all the problems suddenly feel like, oh my God, I was so worried and stressed about that, and actually nothing bad came out of it. Or I was, I don't know, putting so much pressure into something that was so important to me, and then it turns out that, well, maybe it actually paid off, or it actually wasn't. So I think having the skill of being able to look at yourself from a different perspective is very crucial, because sometimes we live in our own bubble and just look so closely on ourselves, you cannot really see the bigger picture, and you might, I don't know, freak out about the things that are not worth it. So trying to make a step back and look at yourself from a few meters, I think this is very important. And when I struggle, sometimes I also like to look at my older pictures or my very first posts on Instagram. I'm like, wow, I cannot believe that was, I don't know, something that really excited me. It was something that really, I don't know, was a big deal for me, because today it's just, so yeah, I like to practice looking at myself from a different perspective. Yeah.
That's great.
Get out of my own shoes. Yeah.
So many good things in what you said there. I mean, obviously, of course, I'd endorse the idea of having a mindset coach. But the other things you said, I mean, it is true that those consistent habits you built are the framework. They give you that solidity to perform. That's what all high performers have. They keep going back to their fundamentals, and those fundamentals include just looking after yourself with your fitness. But, without that, everything's built on foundations of sand. But I also love the journaling. I really like the way you're using it, and that idea of seeing yourself from a different perspective, because a lot of meditation techniques are around this meta-awareness of, can I see myself? Can I see my thoughts and separate myself from my thoughts? And that's a really great way of using it, and also something I'd recommend to everybody. I'm actually just in the course of preparing a course called Perform Under Pressure, And one of the techniques I'm going to recommend to people on the course is sort of just journaling about the performance situation, because the evidence is that when you journal about your concerns about a performance situation, you kind of remove it from your sort of cognitive load. It's almost like you've dumped the worries on that piece of paper.
Yes.
And it just frees up your working memory to actually concentrate on performing. And there's actual evidence of that. There was a great test or study done by somebody called Dr. Sean Bylock, and they did a maths test, and they got one group to do this kind of journaling, and they performed better than when they didn't do that kind of journaling, and much better than the group, because they deliberately increased the stakes around the test. It was like, hey, everybody gets rewarded if you do well in this test, but they don't if you don't perform well. And it was showing that kind of journaling really is beneficial for a performance situation, as well as just making you feel better. Guess what? Those two things tend to go hand in hand, don't they? If you feel better and more relaxed, all those worries, I've kind of worked through them, you are going to perform better. So I really love you. So much good stuff there for somebody to take away from. So thank you for sharing all of that, because you're somebody I know who takes your development as a person and as a player seriously. So that's great that you've shared that. I just want to talk a little bit about that in another context, because you're not just a player, but you're also a content creator. So that's another demanding aspect. Can you just talk about the challenges of streaming, creating content alongside playing?
Well, this is a topic I could talk about for hours, because I've always wanted to be a poker player, but the streaming came on the way, and this is something that I've. Oh my God! I need to start from the beginning. I got emotional about this topic, I think. So I've always wanted to be a poker player, but streaming came across, and I, at some point, turned into the content creator more than a poker player. I was a streamer. I am a streamer. And especially during pandemic, I was streaming a lot. I was streaming long hours almost every day. And this is literally a full-time job. I think it's very challenging to be both a great poker player and a great streamer. There are some people who came to streaming from being on a high top level, like playing as a poker players, and they would start streaming. That's a different path. However, I started from low stakes, and I was developing my skill on the stream for the years, so people could witness that. And I think I could have become a better poker player much faster if I didn't stream. However, streaming and being content creator opened so many doors in my life. I think networking in the poker industry is very important, and being this person that everybody knows absolutely helps that. And being the content creator opened the door for me even for Tritons, which are the highest stakes out there, the most prestigious tournaments. So it was definitely worth it. However, if someone would like to just become a good poker player and that would be main focus, I wouldn't recommend becoming a streamer. Coming back to the pandemic times, I remember I would have streams 11-hour long, because that's how the poker session can take. And I was absolutely exhausted. So if at the same time you want to be fit and healthy, you want to eat well, do the workout, have some social life, you don't really have time to study. You also need to direct your editors on how to edit the content, what to put into post. Posting actually takes lots of time. You need to come up with the captions, ideas, and if you want to do everything on a high quality level, it just takes so much time. So I remember during pandemic, I was streaming a lot, and I was also studying a lot, but there was no social life. So obviously there was no balance, but moving forward, we are humans, we need social life, you need movement. So it is very tough. But these days, well, the times has changed as well, because back in the days, the sponsored poker player would be the one who have won a tournament and, well, is a great poker player. Today, you are becoming a sponsored pro if you have some visibility on the social media. So it has changed a bit. It was always my dream to be a sponsored professional poker player, but it is not what I today. It is not what it was. It is not the same. It doesn't mean the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I have to say, I have a newfound respect for the content creators. Because effectively, well, okay, I mean, I a while back did a little bit of work on my own content, and my goodness, it's hard work. On top of the coaching job, just producing some content around, which goes on social media, it's so demanding, that drain on your creative resources, that you're effectively almost doing two jobs at once, and both of them are pretty demanding, right? You've got your creative mind, putting all that content out there, and then you've just got to go out there and seriously compete as you do as a poker player. And I have to say, as I say, my own experience of it is, wow, it's not easy. I mean, how do you balance the energy needed to really give it your all, as you do in both of these aspects, and have a life, by the way, on top of all of that?
Yes. I also forgot to mention that, well, there's more than what I said, because we also come to the situations when we have final tables on the stream. So I remember that was my big mindset league, that, well, I have hundreds of viewers and I'm performing here, fighting for some good money, and I am being judged by others. I have made so many mistakes on the stream. I have played differently than I should because people are watching me. I've discovered some mental leaks. So on one hand, maybe it's good because I had this journey for myself, discovering my leaks, because I was in those specific situations, it was like in front of the people judging me. But I'm pretty sure I had given away a lot of EV because I was streaming, or because I had to share my attention between the chat, the streaming, the tables. You cannot play as many tables as well on the stream as you would without the cameras, without the stream. So I could play bigger volume if I didn't stream. I could be more focused or more creative if I didn't stream. So there's this exchange. There's this equation. Like it's very tough. And also the mental aspect of that, just being exposed out there, being judged. Also, it's quite uncomfortable when some people are maybe like too intense in the chat, or they feel that they are anonymous. They can say whatever they want. So you're playing a poker session and you have people in the chat saying some ridiculous things, or they're trying to be mean. Like, people are people, and internet is a wild place just because of the anonymous aspect of it. But on the bright side, I must say that when I was starting playing poker, when I was like in my 20s, I had a huge fear of public speaking. And today, well, I'm a Twitch streamer. I am like performing in front of the cameras. So this is a big therapy, though it was something that maybe not many people know. But I remember, like, back in the days when I was playing poker as a hobby. I got invited to become the guest commentator for like EPT something. So that back in the days, like, Poland has the Polish commentary coverage on EPTs, and I got invited to go to Warsaw and become a guest for a day. So the commentary took like 10 hours, like the day 3 of some EPT main event. So I was like very excited. Of course, I was very concerned because I had this fear of public speaking. But I went there, and it was insane because I only introduced myself and then didn't say a word for like 6 hours. I was just so afraid. So there were 2 main commentators, me in the middle, and I was just not talking. I was sitting there. I was so miserable, but I just couldn't say anything. And at some point after those 6 hours, I got a text message from a friend who was like, just tell a joke. And I was like, he's right. I'm just going to tell a joke. I'm probably like, my career is dead. I mean, I didn't have any career because I didn't even have a Facebook like back in that moment. But after those 6 hours, suddenly out of the blue, I was like, hey, maybe I'm gonna tell a joke. And those two guys were just like, well, what's going on? Oh, she's still here. Oh, okay. So and I said a joke, which was horrible. But after that, it's like something happened. Like, my fear was gone. And suddenly I became myself, and I opened up. Then I became a Twitch streamer, and then I became an influencer. So, which is something completely opposite of someone who has a fear of public speaking. So I will be forever thankful for this streaming career, even though it for sure slowed down my poker progress in a way. And in some other degree, it's like sped up because, well, it gave me the access to some games that I would never have an access. So yeah, that's why for me, like the conversation about being a content creator, streamer, as something, very complex. There are good sides of it, and obviously the bad sides of it.
And I absolutely see what you've said about that sort of balance of how you balance improving as a poker player alongside streaming. But I suppose there is one thing you could say about that is that streaming a lot does expose you to all of those external opinions and eyes on you. But in a sense, maybe over time, it will make you, and has made you, more resistant to that. In the sense
Sure.
that, it's like a little bit of a inoculation,
Yes.
I'm getting into the pharmacology here, but you get a little bit of a vaccine and you get a little bit of that stress. And maybe when you're put on the biggest stage, maybe when you come to a Triton final table, you're like, well, I'm used to everybody having an opinion on the
true. It's true. I don't feel intimidated. Like when it comes to the poker table, I don't feel like, I don't know, intimidated. That's literally the word. Like I don't have that. When I play those like Triton events, I'm fine. I'm okay. So
yeah, absolutely. And I do suspect all of that time streaming and just frankly part of your everyday life, just being everybody having an opinion on what you're doing, kind of makes you more resistant and resilient to that. Resilient is the better word. Resistant is not quite what I'm looking for, but you see what I mean. You are like, okay, yeah, I've been here. I'm used to everybody thinking they know better. And everybody can be smart once the cards are turned over. But yeah, absolutely. Well, that's great. So, I mean, I just wanted you to maybe give some advice, because you've done really the serious grinding, and you continue to do the serious grinding alongside properly building your personal brand, your content creation. That, as I say, is quite a challenge for somebody who wanted to build a poker career that way. So in other words, playing at the highest levels, such as the biggest buy-ins at the Tritons as you have, while also being a content creator, what would you say to somebody who thinks, yeah, that's what I want to do as well?
Well, I always try to be responsible with my words when it comes to recommending career choices. Just like I don't want to recommend anybody playing poker professionally. I think poker is a nice hobby. Becoming a professional poker player, it's tough. And when it comes to this influencer career, I don't know if I can give anybody a recipe for it, because what worked for me might not necessarily work for someone else. Obviously, I had a chance to play Tritons thanks to ACR that I worked with. But maybe today ACR doesn't take any new pros, so my path wouldn't work for someone else, because it's the environment is very dynamic and it's changing all the time. So it's I want to be responsible with that. I don't want to make anybody believe that if they do this, they will end up where I am. However, of course, there is some pattern that can be seen and observed, and there are some things that I would have done better. So, if someone would be interested in following such a career, I would definitely recommend just like working with people, getting in between the people, just asking for opinion, for help, for the feedback, just like we spoke at the beginning of this podcast. And it's a mix of everything, of being social and not being social, and not being afraid of missing out. And it's just so not black and white. And At the same time, we always hear about those people who ended up doing good, ended up like actually having that success. We don't hear about those people who didn't make it. So I also don't want anybody to believe that if only you work hard enough, you'll make it. I don't know. I don't know if this is how it works. Everybody has a different background. Everybody has different like obligations and responsibilities. Yeah, I'm afraid to recommend anybody like doing what I did, and starting from all over again. Because so many great poker players, for example, wouldn't be great streamers, right? Because they just don't have, I don't know, charisma or this, I don't know, this je ne sais quoi, as they say.
Yeah.
Right. So
I mean, one thing I would say is, I mean, like, I've sort of, knowing you, sort of Marley, Adriana, hard work and real hard thinking and intelligence is unavoidable to make this work. But you're right, it's still, not a guarantee that the recipe will work. But if you take the hard work out of it, it definitely won't work.
Yes, I must say that obviously many people will point out that, oh, you're a woman. Of course, the woman has it easier in the male-dominated world. But there are so many ladies who, I don't know, they tried, but they didn't make it, So it's not that every single woman out there that will start streaming and start, I don't know, playing and studying. It doesn't mean that all of them is like ending up like being like very successful, sponsored or whatsoever. So I also must mention that. So long story short, I think the element of the hard work and dedication and being stubborn is very crucial. However, some people, I know some people that should never play poker, but they were stubborn. They kept going. So it's also important to be aware of that there are people who are stubborn, but maybe they shouldn't.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's just talk about your horizons from here. What's your vision? What are your goals for the foreseeable future?
So these days I very much enjoy playing live, and this is something that challenges me. This is something that I find exciting, because when I play online, I don't know, it's just, I don't want to say it's easy, but this is something that I know. This is something I think I have less mindset leaks about. And when I play live poker, I feel like this is where I grow. Of course, if you want to be a live professional poker player, you need to play online as well, because this is where you practice. This is where you get the sample, the repetition, your stats that you can analyze. So this is something mandatory that you need to do on the side. But when it comes to play live poker, I see some of the things that I still need to work on, some of the things that I need to fix. And this is what excites me, seeing, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to fix this. So this is where I see myself. And also winning feels so much better than winning anything online. So live poker is the poker, I think. So this is what I'm going to be pursuing the most. Actually, the interesting thing that I've done in the previous festival, I've literally just came back from Asian Poker Tour in Taiwan. And what I've done was literally noting every single hand that I played at the table. And after figuring out the mistake that I made in the hand, like figuring out maybe some mindset leak, because some mistakes don't necessarily come from lack of knowledge, but maybe some, I don't know, perception that I had on someone, and so on. So I think this is very interesting. So I don't really have that online. If I make a mistake online, I think most of the time it's going to be like a technical mistake. And at the live poker, oh my God, there's so much like extra out there. So this is what excites me these days, and this is what I'm gonna be pursuing. And also next week I'm gonna be playing the Triton Invitational in Bahamas, so I'm like very excited about this one. And I know that like those regular festivals that I'm playing, and all of that work that I do around them is something that I can bring to those like highest games, because the buy into that invitational is 250k, so that's like the highest stakes. And just like I said, the magic happens in those repetitive boring routines. So even like noting all the hands from some Asian poker festival might actually pay off at some like bigger games. So yeah, this is where I'm at.
Absolutely, that's so exciting. It loops right back to that original motivation of wanting to travel. So you go to all these nice places to play your poker. So you're doing two great things at once there. So that's fantastic. So really great. Well, finally, where can everyone follow you on social media, Monika?
I am the most active on Instagram. I also decided to be more active on Twitter. So these days on Twitter as well, you can find me everywhere as Hey Monia. Recently, I changed my surname. So it used to be Monika Hrabec, but today it's Monika Hrabec. And you can find me under this name on the social media. Also Facebook, but I don't use it as much. And obviously, Hey Monia on Twitch. But Instagram and Twitter, this is where I'm active the most. And this is where I'm going to find your message and reply to it.
And to everybody listening and watching, we will include links to Monika's social media channels in the show notes. So you can just click on those and follow her from there. Well, Monika, thank you so much. I know you're an extremely busy person. So I'm really grateful, and everybody else who's watching and listening to this will be grateful for your time. It is great to hear for somebody who is a proper grinder, but also a very successful content creator. Because as I say, I've got the utmost respect for anybody who does really well in just one of those things. So to do well in two of them is, it's quite the challenge and really impressive. So again, thank you, and all the best in the Bahamas.
Oh, thank you so much. I was really, really happy to be here today. And having this kind of conversation is also very therapeutical. It makes me think about myself from different perspectives again. So thank you so much for this conversation. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Many thanks again to Monika for being so open and generous with her time and thoughts. And thank you all for listening once again to the Mindset Advantage podcast. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you again. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Mindset Advantage podcast. To get future episodes delivered to you automatically, make sure to subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, or your favorite podcasting service. To get any resources mentioned in the episode or to listen to past shows, visit pokermindcoach.com/TMA podcast. Thanks for listening.